With virtual reality gaming, some interactions and how you play will be the same as flat-screen gaming, but there will be even more things that are completely different. So many things about how you interact and feel about the game experience will change, so keep an open and patient mind. Being able to freely examine and rotate things, pressing a button, using a switch, firing a weapon, swinging a sword, all of the most basic things we used to translate with a button press now become dependent on your own body. And for this reason, our expectations of what works and what does not work will be different in VR compared to flat screen. What feels right to do and not to do can so often be different in ways you would never expect. You will just know that even though it works in flat screen, it just doesn't feel right here in VR. Adjust your expectations and keep in mind that this is a completely new way of interacting with your games, that you must be open to relearning. VR games can be played in many ways: seated, standing, moving around, completely stationary, barely moving, or moving a lot. But remember that if you are playing with motion controllers, physical motion is going to be the primary. Be willing and expect to move parts of your body where possible and where is needed for the game to be the best experience it is designed to be. Be willing to be physical. Clear a space within your home to maximize the chances that you can embrace this key side of the medium. Meet the medium halfway. Let the game be the game and play by its rules. For motion controls to shine, there has to be given adequate space in which they can be used. We have no problem setting aside an area of a room to accommodate our TV, gaming consoles, computers, in order to use them properly, and we need to afford the same courtesy to virtual reality games. We as players need to be fair and accommodating to the medium so its designers and the tech can be allowed its chance to really shine and show you what it can do. Your body has now become the controller, and you wouldn't go and play an incredibly physical game with your body as the controller and expect it to completely accommodate you standing or sitting still and never moving, would you? And a VR game that has to account for this situation, because we as a player are unwilling to meet it halfway, means the potential of that design will never be met. Remember that even though you are embodying a character within the VR world, you are still not the character. It's common for people with years of experience to make this mistake, and unless the game explicitly states otherwise, your movements are a translation of actions for the character within that world, and within that world they are still bound by their own rules. A lot of the time it will not be appropriate for the world and your movements to be translated immediately and one-to-one. Keep this in mind when you're playing, and try to imagine the weight of something. Try to imagine the strength, the capability of the character that you are embodying, and adjust your movements accordingly. If you are willing to put your insecurities aside a little bit, you'll be surprised how much more enjoyable and engaging things can become. All that being said, however, the game must still be high quality enough in its design and implementation to earn this consideration and effort from us as players. If the game's design clearly shows it doesn't care about us with proper quality, then we shouldn't care about it. It is a reciprocal relationship between player and designer, after all. Virtual reality isn't real. Can you believe it? It's actually not happening. You're not in that world. You are still in the place that you put your headset on. Even though your brain struggles to distinguish between imaginary and reality, the fact that you're an aware sentient being means that you, if you choose to, can take control over this situation. Virtual reality experiences can sometimes seem so much more immersive and realistic, but it's your job to remember that it is not real. And so to that end, you can use virtual reality as a tool for your own growth. Are you scared of the dark? Are you scared of spiders? Rather than demand that these things not be included, how about instead you use the opportunity to face and grow and potentially overcome these fears and phobias that you may become a more competent person, and not pressure the creative experience to hold itself back just because you might be unwilling to put in a little conscious effort to remember, hey, this isn't real. Even though I feel it, I know I'm going to be okay. It's very hard to change, it's very hard to adapt to new things. But it's up to us to decide whether it's worth the effort. The experiences we choose to engage with also have to prove themselves worthy of our effort and attention. And VR gaming definitely still has a lot more to do in that regard. But we can encourage it along as players by having a patient and open-minded, creative, explorative attitude. Players and designers need to work together in this regard, and the reward for us all, I believe, will be well worth it in the end. Happy VR gaming.